never escape financial struggle is because they wait for the world to change, instead of becoming the person who demands change. You will never rise above the identity you refuse to outgrow. And most people? They cling to identities rooted in survival. They wear poverty like a personality trait. They identify with scarcity because it's familiar. It's not just what they earn, it's who they believe they are. But if you want wealth, if you want freedom, you must start by shedding the skin of who you've been taught to be. You must rewire the very foundation of your thoughts. Because your outer world is only a projection of your inner world. Your income is just a mirror of your standards. Your reality is simply the echo of your daily habits, multiplied over time. Most people stay broke because they want abundance while clinging to old scarcity patterns. They want wealth, but live on autopilot. They want freedom, but fear risk. They want more, but do less. But the laws of success are unbreakable. You don't get what you want. You get what you are committed to becoming. Let that sink in. The universe doesn't reward wishful thinkers. It rewards decisive, committed, obsessed doers. So ask yourself, what are you really committed to? What do your actions, your habits, your calendar say about your true priorities? Because talk is cheap. And most people go broke speaking dreams in public, while making excuses in private. But the wealthy, the truly free, they speak in results. They speak in actions. They train their focus like a laser, not a flashlight. They understand, clarity is currency. Discipline is leverage. Identity is everything. Most people stay broke because they never claim a vision big enough to pull them out of small living. They chase goals that don't scare them. They pursue paths that don't stretch them. They're more afraid of failure than they are of regret. But you cannot have massive success with minimal commitment. You cannot claim a rich life with a poor mindset. That's the silent epidemic, not a lack of opportunity, but a lack of ownership. Because here's what no one wants to say out loud: you are not broke because you failed. You're broke because you've been tolerating it. Every time you hit snooze, you tell poverty, "I'm not ready to fight yet." Every time you waste hours in distraction, you trade gold for garbage. Every time you make excuses instead of moves, you delay the breakthrough that could change your bloodline. This is deeper than money. This is legacy. Most people stay broke because they only think in terms of survival. But the wealthy, they think in terms of creation. They ask, what value can I build? What problem can I solve? How can I multiply impact, not just income? They don't chase a paycheck. They chase principles. Because principles don't fail. Discipline, vision, focus, delayed gratification, ownership. Those are the building blocks of empires. And here's the painful truth: most people have the same 24 hours as a billionaire. But they spend it like a beggar. They scroll when they should study. They binge when they should build. They gossip when they should grind. They wait for perfect conditions that don't exist. But wealth favors the one who moves. It responds to those who build momentum, who stop waiting for motivation and start living by mission. You don't need $1 million idea. You need a $1 decision made with $1 million commitment. Because wealth doesn't show up when you want it to. It shows up when you've become someone it can't ignore. It shows up when your habits speak louder than your hopes. When your consistency crushes your excuses. When your environment reflects your evolution, not your excuses. So if you are serious, burn the backup plans. Cut the cords to comfort. Decide that broke is not your destiny, it's just your starting point. And the second you do that, you become dangerous. Because now you are not waiting. You're becoming. Becoming the kind of person who multiplies time, not wastes it. Who turns setbacks into stepping stones. Who invests in books, in mentors, in skills, not in trends, not in opinions, not in validation. Becoming the kind of person who walks with vision. Who speaks the language of growth. Who holds themselves to impossible standards because average has never satisfied their soul. That's the shift that separates poverty from prosperity. Not the lottery. Not luck. Not a magic formula. It's identity. And if you want to stop staying broke, you must rewrite the story you've told yourself. That you are not smart enough. That you are not ready. That people like you don't get rich. Rip that script to shreds. Because the truth is, no one was born wealthy. They became it. Through fire. Through focus. Through faith. Faith in a future that hasn't happened yet. Faith in a version of themselves the world hasn't seen yet. Faith that if they keep showing up hungry, humble, and relentless, the world will move. And it does. Not because of where they came from, but because of what they refused to accept. Because of what they chose to become. So what are you choosing now? Are you choosing ease over evolution? Comfort over creation? Regret over responsibility? Or will you choose to rise? To build a financial fortress from the bricks of self-mastery? To become the architect of your abundance? Because broke is not your identity. It is a temporary chapter unless you keep rereading it. The pen is in your hand. The script is still being written. The legacy is still yours to define. But it starts with a decision. One bold, irreversible decision to never again be broke in mind, in habit, in spirit, no matter what your bank account says today. Because when you change who you are, everything around you will change. If you want to be wealthy, you need to understand one simple truth: wealth is not the result of some miracle or sudden stroke of luck. It is the result of the habits you build every single day. You may not immediately see the results of waking up early, focusing deeply, learning relentlessly, and taking consistent action. But these are the bricks that build the castle of your life. Great legends like Edison, Carnegie, Disney, Lincoln, and Ford, they didn't wait for miracles to fall into their laps. They forged those miracles with iron will and unshakable persistence. See, most people fail because they don't set high enough standards for themselves. They believe that playing it safe and avoiding risk is enough. But safety is the key word for poverty. You cannot become rich by playing small. You cannot be wealthy if today looks exactly like yesterday. Look closely at those you admire. They rise while the world sleeps. They study while others indulge. They work while others rest. They sacrifice today to harvest the sweetness of tomorrow. Habits determine destiny. Every small choice you make today shapes your tomorrow. All the richest people in the world have one thing in common: they control their habits instead of letting habits control them. You must learn to make good actions into unbreakable habits. You must learn to adapt to hardship, to turn challenges into stepping stones. Because life will never be completely smooth, and if you wait for perfect conditions, you will forever be waiting. Luck favors the prepared. You cannot expect luck to come your way if you do not work, learn, or change. Luck is the product of relentless persistence. You want to know why most people stay broke? Because they fear failure. They fear shame. They fear judgment. And most importantly, they fear stepping outside their comfort zone. But remember, the comfort zone is the most dangerous place. It is a trap that keeps you stuck, stagnant, and unfulfilled. You cannot wait until you feel ready, because ready will never come. Start now, even if it's just one small step. Once you start, momentum begins to build. This is the power of immediate action. Successful people don't wait for inspiration, they create it through action. They know that action generates energy, energy generates momentum, momentum generates results. Another truth is that many people remain poor because they are trapped in negative thinking. I didn't succeed today, so maybe I never will. They got rich because they were lucky or had help. Rich people like me don't exist. But those thoughts are lies. They are walls you build to protect yourself from change. Instead of tearing down those walls, you choose to live behind them. You must realize that thoughts hold power. If you believe you are poor, you will act like a poor person. If you believe you are wealthy, you will act like a wealthy person. Belief is the seed. Action is the water. What seed will you plant? What will you water? Now look at the future you want to create. You want financial freedom, to live life on your own terms, not bound by anyone else's conditions. You want to control your destiny. It starts with upgrading your mindset. You must seek knowledge proactively, not wait for someone to hand it to you. You must keep learning, keep challenging yourself. You must build a network of like-minded people, because you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. No one gets rich alone. Support, connection, and collaboration unlock doors you never imagined. Are you ready? Ready to become disciplined, visionary, and relentless? Ready to turn adversity into strength? Ready to step out of the darkness of poverty into the light of wealth? Don't just dream. Act today. Ignite the fire within your heart. And turn that fire into a torch to lead your life. Remember Henry Ford's words: whether you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. Belief is the power that builds the person you become. You can choose to keep walking the same old path, or you can choose to rewrite your story. Remember, wealth is not a destination, it is the journey of the person who never stops growing. Start that journey now, and never look back. They don't stay broke because they're lazy. They don't stay broke because they're unlucky. They stay broke because they've been taught to think broke. From the moment they could walk, they were told to play it safe. Be realistic. Stay in line. Don't ask for too much. They were handed a map to a life of mediocrity and they followed it perfectly. And then they wondered why they kept ending up at the same dead ends. Let me tell you the truth, not the version they teach in school, but the real, raw truth. The world is not set up for you to win. It's set up for you to comply. If you're broke, it's not just about your bank account. It's your mindset, your habits, your belief system. It's the invisible programming that whispers, "You don't deserve more," every time you dream bigger than your surroundings. They've convinced you that wealth is a lottery, that riches are reserved for the chosen few. But that's a lie. A myth sold to you by people who benefit when you stay small. The truth is, success is not for the few. It's for the focused. And most people stay broke because they've never been trained to focus. They chase everything and master nothing. They dabble, they doubt, they delay. They scroll instead of study. They spend instead of invest. They consume instead of create. And all the while, they wonder why nothing changes. But the most dangerous reason people stay broke is this: they identify with being broke. They've built their entire identity around struggle, around not enough. They wear it like a badge. They say things like, "Money isn't everything," because they've never had enough to see what it could be. Let me tell you something that might sting if you are struggling financially, and you're not actively changing it, you are choosing it. You're not stuck because of your job. You're stuck because of your standards. Broke is not a condition. Broke is a mindset. And the mind is a battlefield. When they're in, you win everywhere. But most people never fight that battle. Because fighting it means letting go of the lies they've believed for too long. It means admitting that they've settled. That they've coasted. That they've allowed comfort to rob them of greatness. And that's hard. It's hard to wake up to the fact that you've been operating on autopilot, that your whole financial life is just a reflection of what you've tolerated. But that's exactly what must happen before you break free. Because money doesn't respond to need. It responds to value. And the value you bring to the world is a direct mirror of how much you've demanded from yourself. Most people stay broke because they try to change their income without changing their input. They want the money without the mindset. They want the results without the rituals. They want the breakthrough without the discipline. But success doesn't work like that. Wealth is not something you stumble into. It is something you become. And if you do not become more valuable, if you do not develop your mind, your skills, your discipline, your bank account will always reflect your old self. Most people stay broke because they work harder on their job than they do on themselves. They trade time for money. They wait for raises instead of raising their standards. They complain about prices instead of increasing their worth. They focus on cutting expenses instead of multiplying income. They're thinking like consumers when they should be thinking like creators. They're thinking like employees when they should be thinking like entrepreneurs of their own lives. Let me be clear, wealth is not about having millions in the bank. It's about having options. Freedom. Ownership of your time, your thoughts, your future. And if you don't own your time, someone else does. If you don't own your mind, the world programs it for you. And if you don't own your purpose, you'll spend your life building someone else's. That's the real cost of staying broke, not just money. You lose time. You lose dreams. You lose the person you could have become. But here's the good news: wealth is not inherited. It is constructed. And anyone who has the courage to rewire their mind, can rewrite their future. But first you've got to destroy the lie that says you're not worthy. You've got to crush the voice that says you're too late, too young, too old, too unqualified. Because that voice is the voice of average. And you weren't born for average. You were born with the same raw material as every legend who came before you. The same 24 hours. The same blank canvas. The same human potential. The only difference? What they did with it. So what will you do with it? Will you continue thinking like the masses, hoping, wishing, resenting, scrolling? Or will you rise? Will you learn what they never taught you? Will you decide that wealth is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become? Because the second you do, everything changes. Not instantly, not overnight, but inevitably. You will stop spending hours entertaining yourself and start educating yourself. You will stop blaming the world and start building your world. You will stop asking, what does it cost, and start asking, what does it return? You will stop chasing comfort and start chasing capacity. The capacity to earn more, become more, give more, lead more. And that shift, that's the day you stop staying broke and start becoming unstoppable.